Welcome to the Facebook Live Support sample video from the course The Fearless Fluency Club. In this video, you'll see a recording of the live video that I did on the Speak English with Vanessa Facebook page. When you join the full course for the Fearless Fluency Club, you will get live support like this each week to help you understand and keep up with the full course. Enjoy this video and learn a lot. Hello! Welcome to today's Tuesday live Facebook lesson here on the Speak English with Vanessa Facebook page. I'm really glad that you are taking time today to learn English, improve your skills, and hopefully meet other people who are interested in the same thing. This is an international community for intermediate English learners who want to become advanced and fluent and confident. So welcome, you are in the right place. Let me quickly introduce myself. Hi, I'm Vanessa and I teach English here on Facebook and also on my website, speakenglishwithvanessa.com. So if you'd like other free lessons to join one of my courses, that is the best place to go. And today I have a free gift for you in the description at the top of this page, at the top of this post, I guess. There is a link, speakenglishwithvanessa.com/fluency. Here you can download a sample lesson pack with 4 videos. We're going to talk about one of them today, and transcripts and lesson information and guides to help you become a fearless, fluent English speaker. So don't wait, download it now while you're watching this, and let's start to talk about one of those videos. Thank you everyone for joining me. Welcome Luis, welcome David, Danielle, Jean-Jacques. I'm doing well. How about you? How's Canada going today? Thanks for coming and spending time with me here live. Today we've got a fun topic, and it is the final topic of this August month. This August we've been talking about the vocabulary for the first week, the grammar for the second week, pronunciation for the third week, and this is the 4th week. We're talking about the culture shock video that I filmed with my sister. So if you haven't seen this video, download the lesson set and feel free to watch it after this lesson. You can still learn a lot today in our live conversation. Hi Saeed, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Tatiana, I hope I said that correctly. Hi from Russia. Sai, you're in the US. Where are you living in the US? I'm on the East Coast in North Carolina, here in the mountains. It's a beautiful place. Cool, well, today's a little hot. Generally mild weather, nice nature, relaxing. Hi, Lucas. Hi, Monta. How are you doing, Lucas? It looks like you survived your skydiving. Yes, success. Reda, Kadri, welcome, welcome. I have a question for you as we're getting started. I want to know, where is one of your favorite places to visit? If you want to say somewhere in your country, it's okay, but today we're going to be talking about culture shock and also reverse culture shock. So if this place is somewhere with a different culture or maybe a different atmosphere than your hometown or where you're living now, that would be the best. Talking about going to another country or maybe a city in the north and you live in the south. Something that's pretty different than where you live. So tell me, where is a place that you like to visit? Hi Yutaka, welcome, good evening. Good evening, it's pretty late for you. Glad you're here. Aha, Jean-Jacques says Martha's Vineyard. Your pictures look so beautiful from that place, really calming, and the US has a similar culture to Canada, but because you're in a different atmosphere, you're on an island, it's pretty different than home sweet home. Abdo says he went to the Eiffel Tower. Wonderful. The Eiffel Tower. Paris is a wonderful place to visit. For me, a place that I love to visit that's pretty different from my home culture. Well, pretty much everywhere. But going to Europe. Europe is similar to the US because there's some cultural similarities, but the biggest difference is the cities. At least as a traveler, the cities are more compact and you can walk different places. The downtown area is much different than a downtown area in the US. So that's one of the things I love about going to Europe and seeing new things there. Oh, Danielle says her favorite place to visit in Orlando is Disney World. Great. Javi from Spain, welcome. I guess to say Javi from Spain, welcome. Najim lives in Chicago from Algeria. Great. So tell me, where is a place that you visited that you really, really enjoy but has a different culture than you? I'm going to give you today a sentence that we can use to talk about culture and reverse culture shock, because in the video with my sister, if you downloaded it here, you can see that video. In the video, we talked about some shocking things when we visited other places. So I'm going to give you a sentence here that you can use to describe another place that has a different culture. So this is talking about culture shock. You were surprised by something. We could say, I felt culture shock when, for example, for me, when I moved to Korea, I felt culture shock when I saw all the lights at night. Just at night, you can walk outside and it's like the middle of the day. There are lights everywhere, and that's really different than where I live. So this was something that was shocking to me. I felt culture shock when I saw all of the lights. So I want to know for you, when you visited these places, so Lucas, when you visited Toronto, or Kai, when you visited Vienna, when you visited other places, what happened? When did you feel culture shock? When did you feel culture shock? Maybe I should write a little clearer the next time. Wonderful. Oh, that's interesting. Francesca says your screen is reflected. The letters are upside down. Oh my goodness. Maybe I should turn it the opposite way. Well, maybe I'll just say it out loud for you today. Maybe Skype, we're not on Skype, we're on Facebook. Facebook a moment ago said we are trying to reconnect. So maybe when it reconnected, it changed it. If you can see my video okay, let me know. Let me know, and I'll just explain the words instead of showing them to you. Maybe if I showed this, it would be too confusing because the letters would be switched. So let's just start with this. Okay. If there is a problem seeing just me, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to explain to you. And if you have a way to write some notes, go ahead and do it. I think that's going to be helpful. So my question is, when did you feel culture shock going to another country? Was it food? Was it the lights like in Korea? There were lights everywhere. Was it the language? Maybe that was shocking to hear another language in another country. I think in the video with my sister, she talked about feeling culture shock going into another place because she felt like a stranger. She didn't feel comfortable, like this is my home. And I think that feeling is really common for people who go to another place. You just feel like it's not your home. Oh, Valerie says, I had culture shock in Egypt. Oh, right. Yes, so your home country is quite different than Egypt. The rich houses were just 2 steps from really poor houses on the same street. This is an interesting point. I think when you are in your home country, maybe you didn't realize that rich people and poor people lived separately, but when you visited another country, you learned something about your own culture. I think that's a really cool thing about traveling, is learning about your own culture through other places. So when you went to Egypt, you realized, whoo, pretty different. Yes, great. Thank you so much for that. Vanessa says the language was different. Yes, languages when you travel are going to be part of the shock. Now, in the video with my sister, in this video lesson, we talked about reverse culture shock. And reverse culture shock, I want to know if you have watched this video with my sister, or if you just want to guess, what do you think is reverse culture shock? What is your guess? I'm going to take a sip of my tea today. One of my lovely students, Gabriella, if you're here, hi, gave me this wonderful mug from Switzerland. When I went to Switzerland, we just drove through the country, but the mountains, the Alps were amazing and beautiful, and this was shocking. I have never seen mountains this high before, so this is something that could be like a culture shock. Seeing some kind of nature that was completely different, completely different. Bobby has a good question. He asks, when your Fearless Fluency Club opens, can I talk with you on Skype? So on Skype, there will be once a month, I'm going to choose a featured student to meet with me for free. It's included in the course. Meet with me on Skype. So somebody who is active in our community, someone who has a positive attitude and wants to share on Skype with me. So yes, I'm going to be doing that once a month. I'll choose a featured student. That's a great question. Oh, Sarah has an interesting point. I don't go out of my home often, so I don't know how it feels to feel culture shock. And you know what? You can also feel shock even if you visit another family. If you have dinner with another family and they have really different dinner practices than you, maybe you'll feel surprised that they eat in a different way, or they talk to each other in a different way. I know when I visited my husband's family for the first time, we weren't married yet, but when I visited his family, the way that they have conversations is so different from my family. They talk about everything, and even if they argue at the end of the conversation, it doesn't matter. They're still friends, they still talk with each other, and I was shocked. This was kind of like a culture shock. Someone else's family was really different than mine. So you can still, I just want to let you know, you can still feel that kind of surprised or shocked feeling even in your home country. Hi Claudia, nice to see you. Claudia says, I felt shocked when I visited the US. American people are more reserved than Brazilians. Reserved, maybe calmer or less talkative, for a little more quiet in public. Reserved. That's an interesting word to use. Excellent. Oh, Jean-Jacques has the correct answer. Jean-Jacques says reverse culture shock is feeling uncomfortable coming back to your own country. 100% yes. Yes. So this is my next question. I want to ask you, when you traveled to another country and you came back to your home country, did you notice anything that was a little strange or different? So someone already mentioned that, Valerie mentioned that in Egypt, he noticed that the rich houses and poor houses were close together. So probably when you went back to your home country, you recognized that, oh, they're separate in my home country. This is like experiencing some kind of new ideas about your home country. Thank you for giving that definition, Jean-Jacques. I appreciate it. Oh, Monta too has a great definition. When you go from your country you've been living to a foreign country and then come back home. Yes. Oh, Raul says, when I went to Germany, the language was different. I think language is one of the biggest shocks. You just all of a sudden need to communicate in a different language, or maybe you can't communicate at all if you don't speak that language. That is a huge shock. So Raul, if you don't speak German, it can be a big shock to communicate, especially in smaller cities or with older people. I think some places will speak English, but you also are hearing German a lot. That is a big difference. Letty says, I felt culture shock when I came to the US. Tell me, what was different for you? What did you feel when you went to the US? Marco says, I felt culture shock when I visited Tokyo. Yes, I realized how the Japanese culture is very different from the Italian one. Yes, and this is a beautiful thing about travel. You can learn about other cultures and learn about your own as well. I'm curious, Marco, what was something that you recognized that was different in the Japanese culture? For me, if I try to imagine what was different between the US and Korea, there's too many things. I could list it forever, talking about just the way people interact in public, the way people dress, the way cities are, the way the work ethic. It's just all completely different, and yet we're still human. I think that's a really beautiful thing, that even though cultures are different, languages are different, when you talk with someone, they're still just a human, and they still have motivations and dreams and ideas. Maybe it's different than yours, but they still have that because we're human. And that's an awesome thing about this page. You are here talking with people from all over the world, different cultures, but we can still understand. Oh, Danielle has an interesting point. She says, I felt culture shock when I visited my husband's family because they shout. So they talk really loudly or just get loud. Maybe your family doesn't do that. That's culture shock. Each family maybe has a different kind of culture. That's a great way to put it. Leanne, I'm glad you're here. She says, I felt shocked when I met you on Facebook. You're so friendly. Well, I hope that this will become comfortable to you. Khaled, tell me, what was shocking when you visited the UK? He says, I felt culture shock when I was in the UK. What was different for you? I think there's probably a lot of differences, but I'm curious, what was something that was new for you? Tatiana says, I had culture shock when I noticed that people in Germany have a great standard of living. This is an interesting point. I noticed that too when I went to Germany. There is, at least in the places that I went, there's some small towns where my mother-in-law and father-in-law, they're living in Germany at the moment for a couple years. In the area where they live, it's clean. People seem to be polite. This is just a generalization from my experience, but I think we can notice those things as generalizations when we travel. So that's a good point. A good standard of living, especially compared to maybe something that you've experienced before. Lucas, people have a cold heart, different from Brazilian ones. Yes, I think this is a good point too, that when you go to another country, you learn things about your home country. So maybe you realize that Brazilians, we might say, have a warm heart or are really hospitable and welcoming and open to talking with people, or maybe they hug a lot. This was something I noticed when I lived in Paris. I lived with a French family for 1 year in Paris, and in France, it's not as common to give hugs to each other. It's more common to just give a little kiss on the side of your face. And after a couple weeks, I realized I need a hug. I needed that contact because in the US, in my culture, that's so important for me. And I didn't realize it, that I needed that physical contact just to show I care about you or I'm comforting you. But it was so different to experience that because it just wasn't a part of that daily life. Hitoko says, interesting point about ice cream or just bigger things. Everything was bigger in the US compared to Japan. Pizza, ice cream, dishwashers. I have heard that quite frequently, actually, that in the US, things are just bigger. Maybe it's that there's more space? I'm not sure. It just maybe part of the mindset. I'd be curious to see if there's any studies about why things are like this in the US. A great point. Oh, Marco says a great example about Japan compared to Italy. Japanese people don't shake hands when they meet other people. Sure, I think it's probably more common to bow. There might be some business occasions to shake hands, but as a traveler, you're probably not going to do that. That does feel strange if you come from a culture that has more physical touch. So for me, like I mentioned with hugs or shaking hands, when you don't touch someone at all, you just bow or give a kiss on the cheek. Personally, I feel like something's missing. I need to do more. But for them, it's perfectly normal. This is culture shock. So coming back to your home country, when you could shake hands, when you could hug people, you probably felt, this is much more comfortable for me. But it's interesting to explore other cultures too. Oh, Yutaka says, I also felt culture shock when I visited my wife's family for the first time. Oh, what was shocking, Yutaka? What's different between your family and your wife's family? And maybe visiting the first time, this is at least a stereotype that when you visit your girlfriend's family or your fiance's family, the man usually feels really nervous. Maybe her father is looking at you. Who is this guy? This is pretty typical in the US that you might feel nervous. Hussein, the topic today is culture shock. When did you feel culture shock? Prakan says, when I was in Tokyo, I went to the onsen, the public bath, and that was a shocking experience. Yeah, Prakan, in your country, do you have public baths or saunas or these kind of places? In the US, we don't have this at all. If you want to do this, it's a really fancy experience, really expensive to go to a spa and have a hot tub or this kind of luxurious experience. But I think in Japan, it's a pretty common thing to go to a public bath or a hot spring. So that is a cultural experience, definitely. Thank you for bringing that up. Aang says, lots of people have visited Japan. That's really interesting. Aang says, I have been in culture shock since I came to Japan. I think it takes time to feel comfortable, and maybe we start to feel comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. It just becomes normal. Oh yes. Panada says, in Thailand we don't hug and it feels weird to give someone a hug, or when someone gives me a hug. Yeah, I think physical contact is another big cultural point. When you go to a country that doesn't have physical contact, it's shocking. And when you go to a place that does have it, it's also shocking. Our personal space is really important. And maybe that's something that we didn't realize in our home country until you traveled abroad. Raul says, once my cousin went to China and he had a video of people eating scorpion snakes. And yes, I think when you experience this, that is culture shock. Certainly, certainly. Just different food, things that you feel like are normal are not normal in other places sometimes. And maybe not everybody eats those things, but maybe you'll never see that in your home country. Leanne, I would love to go to Vietnam. She said, if you have the chance to go to Vietnam, you should try our delicious food. Yes. I love trying new food. That sounds great. Oh, great. I'm going to read one or two more comments before we go today. So if you have any final culture shock ideas, write them down and let's share them. It's interesting to see what people feel shock about. And maybe someone has written about your country and maybe that thing is normal for you. Maybe you're from Japan and someone said, I went to the hot springs and it was shocking to me. But for you, that's normal. It's really interesting to see what is strange for other people. Different cultural experiences. Ah, Leah says, I went to Dublin 2 years ago and it's different because people eat a lot of potatoes. These kind of basic food items in other countries are often quite different. Maybe rice or potatoes or lots of bread or beans or just different kinds of seafood. That can be really shocking. Food is essential and wonderful. I love food. Food is something that we don't realize is so normal in our own culture. And then when you go somewhere else, it feels like another planet sometimes. Sadali says, it's interesting. I feel great when it was summer last year. Maybe the weather. Yes, we haven't even talked about the weather yet. Maybe the weather in another place is completely different. Wow, thank you all for bringing up all of these cultural, shocking items, weather, language, different things that you can do in other countries. Viet says, yes, taking off your shoes in Japan is a shock. In your country, Viet, do you take off your shoes when you go to a country? Probably not, because you felt shocked about it. But in the US, I say 50%. 50% of people take off their shoes, but usually it's not a strict rule. If you take off your shoes, it's okay. If you don't, it's not a big deal. After living in Korea, I made a sign. When you open the door to my house, you see a sign that says, please take off your shoes. And there's all of our shoes under the sign, so it's very obvious. But you know what? Hardly anyone takes off their shoes when they come to my house. Maybe they don't see the sign. And for me, it's not a big deal. I'm not going to confront them and say, take off your shoes. It's fine. It's just a couple hours and we'll just sweep the floor after they go. But this is a pretty big cultural difference when you visit other places. So thank you everyone for writing about culture shock. Some people wrote also about reverse culture shock. And if you'd like to learn more about this topic and see a conversation between two people talking about culture shock and reverse culture shock, make sure that you download the sample lesson set. I want to know how many of you have already downloaded it. Did you download the sample lesson set from the Fearless Fluency Club? We have the 23rd, 24th, 25th, 26th, 27th, 4 days. 4 days, and the full course is going to open on Saturday. So Saturday, 8 a.m. my time, which is 2 hours earlier than our live lesson. So in a couple days, you are going to experience full course, which is going to be great. Jamie, if you have a question about the Fearless Fluency Club, maybe you need some help downloading it or you have some other question about it, feel free to send me an email. I think that's the best way that I can help you. You can go to speakenglishwithvanessa.com/contact, or just go to my website, speakenglishwithvanessa.com, and click on the contact button. This is the best way. I'll try to help you. I want to make sure that you can download it and learn with all this material. So on Saturday, the Fearless Fluency Club is going to open. I'll be sharing more information about it, so make sure that you downloaded the sample lesson set up here. That way you can learn as much as possible and see if it's a good fit for you. That's the most important thing. So there's a link at the top. I'm going to I have it open here. I'm going to turn my camera around and show you really quick. All right, I'm going to show you really quick. This is the page where you can download the sample lesson set. Oh, maybe the camera is turned around. I forgot about that. Anyway, you can go to speakenglishwithvanessa.com/fluency, and you'll see this page. It might be turned around on the phone. I'm not sure. At the moment, Facebook decided to flip my video, so I'm not sure if you could actually see it accurately or not, but the page will look something like that. Download the free sample lesson set, and I'll see you again on Thursday at this time. And because the course is opening on Saturday, there are going to be a lot of live events next week. So make sure that you are following this page. Like the page, you can turn on the notifications. The way to turn on notifications is to click on the like button and there will be some options. One of the options is notifications on. And when you turn notifications on, it means that whenever I have a live lesson, you'll receive a notification. So I want to help you on Facebook, in the Fearless Fluency Club, and as much as possible. So thank you everyone for joining me, and have a wonderful Tuesday. Maybe it's almost Wednesday for you if you're on the other side of the world, but have a great Tuesday. See you the next time on Thursday, and enjoy the Fearless Fluency Club sample lesson set. Bye everyone, see you later. Bye Jean-Jacques, I'm glad you're here. Thanks for your interaction. Mustafa, welcome. Bye Hitaka, bye Hitoko. Thank you so much. See you later. Bye. Thank you for watching this sample video lesson from the Fearless Fluency Club. I would love to help you continue to improve your English. Would you like to get full lesson sets every month and personalized feedback from me? Click the I at the top of the screen to join, or click the link in the description below. You can become a fearless, fluent English speaker. Let's start now.